Okay, and pivoting to our third topic of the day, which is our Dear Meg segment. So it is now time for Dear Meg. So this person asked, Dear Meg, how far is too far with judging? Are we allowed to judge righteously? This is something I honestly have been thinking about a ton lately, just because I guess I'll go into it honestly. But first, to answer the question, I think that there is 100% a place to judge righteously. I think there is a place to call out sin in the lives of people that we know personally. However, I think that all throughout Scripture, especially in the New Testament, we see over and over and over again this warning with judgment and actually a call to not judge. And so I think it's really important that judging people is not what is defining our lives. And I just want to say this cautiously because I want this to be sound. I want this to be biblical. I don't want to just say, a hot take or opinion or anything like that. So I do think that there is a place for, I guess it's tricky with the word judge specifically, but I will say I think that there is a place to say like, all right, like here's this friend that is walking in sin and I can go to them and address the sin in their life. If that is what judgment is, then like there's 100% a place for that. We see that in Scripture too. There is a place for us to say like what is right and wrong. If we're calling that judgment, there's a place for that too. Like this is wrong and this is right. However, for our hearts to be holier than thou on somebody else and have that kind of be the judgment where we're like looking down on other people, judging them in that kind of way, the Bible talks a lot about not doing that. And so I just want to list some verses here too. And these are mostly New Testament. Matthew 7 tells us to judge not, that you not be judged. For the judgment you pronounce, you will be judged. For the judgment you pronounce, you will be judged. And with the measure you use, it will be measured to you. We also have in that same chapter, why do you see the speck that is in your brother's eye, but not notice the log that is in your own eye? And so I think really that's kind of the heart of what I'm trying to say is like, let's really take introspection and instead of being like, oh, can you believe that they're doing this? Or this happened to them because they did this. And we should talk about how they're doing this. And it just also goes into gossip and slander and so many things because often our judgment on people doesn't stay with us alone. Instead of doing that, I think it's important for us to recognize, okay, why do I think that I'm better than them? Let's look at the logs in my own life, in my own eye. If I am gossiping, that's a log. If I am slandering, that's a log. If I am, maybe doing a sin that I consider less bad, quote unquote, that's a log. Like sin is sin. And so keeping that in mind, I think is really important. Let's see other verses here. Just again, off of that same passage, you hypocrite, first take the log out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly to take the speck out of your brother's eye. And Luke 6 tells us, judge not, and you will not be judged. Condemn not, and you will not be condemned. And again, I think that's just the heart. I think, and this is actually an episode I want to do soon, I think oftentimes, and I am so guilty of this too, which is why I think I have become very passionate about it in my own life, and something I feel like the Lord's been like showing me a lot of. I think a lot of times, and I don't want to make a blanket statement, but there are a lot of Christians who are really quick to condemn or judge and less quick to love and uplift, because we also see verses in Scripture where if you see somebody walking in sin, where like you can then walk with them and help them out of that sin instead of like judging them automatically, casting shame and like condemning them. And I think so often we see more of the condemnation and the judgment and the eye rolls and the gossip and the I can't believe this person did this kind of thing versus loving them and encouraging them in the way of the Lord. So I think that that's important too. Romans 14 tells us, why do you pass judgment on your brother? Or you, why do you despise your brother? And it says, each of us will give an account to of himself to God, which I think is important too. It's like the Lord knows and the Lord sees. Therefore, let us not pass judgment on one another any longer. What's another verse here? Let's see. And again, going back to there is a place for righteous judgment. Proverbs 31 tells us, open your mouth, judge righteously, defend the rights of the poor and the needy. So there's like place for that. But I think all of this to say is let us be cautious with how much we are actually judging, and to, what does judging actually look like? If we are shaming people, if we are looking down on people, I don't think there's really place for that. If we are just saying what is sin and what isn't sin, there is place for that. I don't think that's judgment or judging. I think that's just like saying what is and what isn't biblically. And two, just as a reminder, like the Lord is the one who judges. Like he is the one who knows all things, who knows every aspect of somebody's heart that we don't see. And he is the righteous judge. We see that in Psalm 7. God is a righteous judge. Psalm 9, he judges the world with righteousness. So I guess all of that to say, it depends on how you look at the word judgment. If you are like using this as the ability to look down on people, then I think that that's not the right heart. And I'm not coming at you. I think that's really common. I think subconsciously we do that all the time. And it's a heart check that we all need to have. And I think my encouragement would be like, yes, you have a place to encourage somebody in the Lord to call out sin of somebody that you know. So there is a place for judgment. The Lord is our judge. There is a place for us to say, this is wrong, to point out sin in a friend's life, but to do that in a loving, loving, loving way. And to not make that our first gut reaction always, I think is important, because then are we ignoring the log in our own eye?